Bye.
At High Curious for Business, we help you make better promotional content faster. We produce your live stream across all of your platforms for your 1-hour podcast, interview, performance, or event. Next, we create up to 15 pieces of promotional content using that live content. When you use them across all of your social media platforms, you'll have up to 60 pieces of content to reach your customer. 60 pieces of content from 1 hour of live streaming with your community. High Curious for Business Hero content packages start at $14.20 a month and include a private community for your business, a link to your website from our Shop and Save page, and many more perks. Build your business with High Curious for Business. Make better content faster and get back to growing your cannabis empire. All right, here we are. I changed the background to this smoky background, but I'm going to go back to our logo. All right. Welcome, Joey. Thank you so much for being here today. This is Curious Business, and my guest today is Joey Gindi. Joey is the CEO and founder of Ajoya Dispensary. And Joey, introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, people. So yeah, I've been in sorry, I'm fixing my camera. Been in cannabis since 2009, end of 2009. Had the opportunity to get into this industry. My brother started a dispensary, and I came on a couple months later, and things kind of evolved from there. I've been in this industry for 12 years, and started to find my passion inside of it probably in the last 6 years or so, 7 years or so, when we developed the Ajoya brand. And now my focus inside of this space is to just expand what I'm passionate about, which I'm sure we'll get into as we get into this interview. And yes, that's my cannabis life. I'm also a husband. I've got 2 children. I've got a 2.5-year-old, and my son just turned 11. Spend a ton of time with my family, super important to me, and figuring out that work-life balance is super important. And yeah, when I'm not working, I'm like spending time with myself, just trying to get to know myself a little bit better, and spending a lot of time with my kids and my dog, and that's my life right now. That's my life for the last 2 years, 3 years, actually probably longer than that.
But evolving even more and more into being like more of a present in everything you do, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about that.
Absolutely.
One of your friends from your Facebook says you're Michael Drishman, class act right there.
Do you know him?
No, it's your person.
Oh. What's up, Michael?
Well, yeah, shout out to Michael. So yeah, isn't this cool that I can like bring up the comments right on the screen like that, and then like hide it, and then I know it's pretty cool. So I'm impressed with myself. All right, so great. So if you want to check out more about Ajoya, you can go to ajoyalife.com or follow them on their Instagram at ajoyalifeco. And also connect with Joey on LinkedIn, where I know you're starting to be more vocal, and I love seeing it. And one of the reasons we're here today to talk about is the Indica Sativa myth, I guess, and I'm wearing this t-shirt. Sativa Indica is lazy marketing, which is, you can purchase on cynicalstoner.com. And, Kristen actually challenged you in the comments to say, hey, what if you put this on bud tenders, or I know sales consultants, or where sell these at your shop to really get that conversation going. So I guess let's start off with the question, is Indica Sativa lazy marketing? And then we'll get into more about what Ajoya is doing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I need to apologize to Kristen because I did not even see her response to that comment. So she's probably like, why hasn't he responded to me?
She doesn't care about, I mean, she doesn't get upset about it.
She doesn't care. So I didn't even see that. That's a great idea. It is. I feel like at this point in the game, it is lazy marketing. You know, I mean, this industry's been around for a long time, you know, well, longer than since I've been in it, you know, in one way or another inside California and even here in Colorado. You know, in this day and age, you know, 12, 13 years since I entered this space, if you're still using the Sativa Indica language, it's just like, you know, it's just not truthful, right? It's like anytime I get into conversations with people and they're like, Sativa lifts me up and Indica brings me down, and they're telling me that that's what they learned at the dispensary that they shopped in, you're kind of doing customers an injustice, right? Like you're not really giving them all the information and make decisions that are best for them. You know, it's kind of an easy out, right? Like you don't really need to think about, you know, how to get creative and really help people find strains that are right for them based on whether it's terpene profiles, whether it's data points based on people's experiences with specific strains. You know, and a lot of people just lean into Sativa lifts you up and Indica puts you in the couch and this is super heady and this gives you body highs, and they kind of just leave it at that.
So it's so oversimplified, first of all. And also it's like there's, especially with dispensaries like yours, there's so many new people coming into the industry that, you know, we at the first dispensary touch, they could be educated. And then they could go into their parties and their friends and be like, it's not Sativa Indica, and start to like actually evangelize if they learn. But if we talk about it at the dispensary level as Sativa Indica, which is, I agree, is lazy marketing, it's just perpetuating this. We're just at such a beginning. I mean, even though I know you are 12, 13 years into this, we're still at such the beginning of attracting new consumers to the industry and changing, you know, marketing and products and things like that. It's so, you know, it's so exciting and there's so much to come. So it's like we can do so much better, but so few brands are trying. And that's the part that like really kills me. You know, on top of like, you know, I have like kind of two areas of focus. One is like if products are kind of like way too far away from the plant, you know, over processed, kind of down to the like distillate crystalline level, you know, then is it really medicine? I'm not saying it's not great still, but it's not medicine. Okay. That's kind of what I see. And on the other side is this Indica Sativa. And I keep saying to my husband, Barry, like, I want you to try to learn how to manage your dose, like understand your dose based on the terps, because I know he's like really good at categorizing and keeping track of things. So I want him to like, you know, start to learn because he definitely has strains that do not work for him. So what are those strains, and start to key in on the strains that do. You know, and it's not Indica Sativa. So tell me, okay, we agree. Indica Sativa is lazy marketing. So how is Ajoya educating consumers? I mean, and how, like talk about, you know, the categories and all that, because I just think that what you've been doing for such a long time, and the scary, like the crazy thing for me is that Ajoya was the first dispensary I ever went to.
Yeah.
Which was like, you really fucked me up, Joey.
Yeah, I know.
Because I really was like, oh my God, the industry has arrived. Like I was there. There's all these amazing products. It's like beautifully laid out. It's the first dispensary I've ever gone to. I'm like, this is it. This is where the industry's here. No, it was already organized in this like really creative marketing way. And I'm like, yes. Then like that's been it, like like pretty much everyone else. So talk about Ajoya.
Well, we, I think when we were coming up with the Ajoya brand and looking at the types of conversations we were having with our customers, it was heavily around experiences, and trying to understand what they were coming in to our shop to get product for, whether it was health related, whether it was for creativity or unwinding or whatever it might be. There was a certain kind of experience that they were looking for when they were shopping. And so we took, we could have gone the lazy, like rebranded and gone in that lazy marketing route of Sativa Indica, but we actually took the time to really investigate and consider, all right, like, what are our customers telling us? They're shopping for these experiences. They're seeking a result from using this product. And how do we help them get there? How do we help guide their experience to help them make better choices about the products they're getting to ultimately give them what they're looking for, the result that they're looking for. And so we came up with, after a long time of just talking about this stuff, came up with, I think it's actually started as 5 or 6 categories, but we felt like that would be almost too complex. And so we tried to simplify it a little bit and came up with Elevate, Focus, Unwind, and Settle. This felt good. I guess 4 categories felt on point, and in the beginning, like, it was tough to navigate even internally away from, like, if it's a sativa, you can't just put it in the Elevate category. It doesn't work like that, because we're trying to get away from this conversation, and we knew that Sativa and Indica only spoke to, like, how the plant makeup, right? It wasn't necessarily had anything to do with effects and experience, and we wanted to get away from that conversation. So now I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so you have 4 categories. Yeah. And that's how you started.
So we have these 4 categories. And so it wasn't about just taking Sativa and putting it in Elevate and whatnot. It was really about us using these products, and it really started out like almost like a sommelier, but someone internally determining what categories these strains go into. But more recently, in the last few years, when Leafly kind of rebranded and redid their whole site, a lot of their categories are reliant on data points based on customer experiences. And right now, like, we can only work with what we've got. There's not enough information out there to say this strain is going to give this experience. There's not enough information about even cannabinoid, the way that they combine together and interact with your body, or even terpenes and the way those interact with your body and all the different cannabinoids. It's really complex. If you really start to learn and understand, like, be educated in cannabis and your endocannabinoid system and all of that, it's almost like, holy shit, like, you'll never be able to know what strain works for somebody. Like, it's almost impossible.
No.
And so this became a journey about just like self-discovery for people to discover what products work for them. And we started to use Leafly because a lot of the data points were based on customer feedback and other people's experiences with the strains. It wasn't about this strain Sativa, so it needs to go in this elevating category. It was, what are people saying about these strains? And because of the sheer size of them, we began to use them to help us categorize our different strains. Right now, most of the education comes, in those 4 categories on our website and talking about it on social channels. But I would say 98% of it really comes in that one-on-one interaction with the consumer. So it's when they come in and shop with us and they're asking for sativa strains, and then we're able to give them some education about, the categories that we have and why we use those different categories and how strains get categorized in those different categories, and then help guide them to making a decision based off of that. But it's important to always let them know, this is subjective. Like, it's not an exact science, and Ajoya is in the business of helping you discover what's going to work for you.
Right. And that really it continues to, just as maybe 5 years ago now, I was like, you need to become a national brand. Like, I was like harping on you about it, and you're like, great, but no, I can't do that right now. I have to focus on my core stores, which of course was the right decision, but I still feel like you have such an opportunity to, like, have a platform that at least puts a stake in the ground that says not that you own this, but that you're a part of defining this. Because, and like having, starting to educate consumers about this, because especially just in general, like when you think about like federal legalization, for example, which I know is far off, but let's just say consumers have zero education. Now the government is telling them about cannabis.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Now we've lost complete control. So between now and federal legalization, we have like an opportunity to educate. And like I just really want to see Ajoya like be like a voice, a leader as a national brand in like, and obviously in products and product marketing across all states, and
Yeah.
becoming a multi-state operator through branding. But more importantly, to talk about the like like not the evolution, but like the what you're working on, like that this is like a lab, you know what I mean? This is a constant evolution. You're using this data and this data and this data, and that you're going to keep getting stronger and stronger at this, which you already are. But I like feel like you have two stores and you're only helping people at the store level. They have to come to you
I
before they
know.
even get that. So how can we get it like, you know vigor?
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I mean, it's super important. I mean, and it will happen. There's going to be some things happening later this year and into next year that I think are going to change the game and really get us seen on a larger level. Because I'm
Good.
passionate about this. I see the industry's going to go in one of two ways. Like cannabis is going to be something that people use similar to alcohol in the sense that it's just to like unwind or de-stress or like escape, really, is what I call it. Um, or they're going to begin using it in a very intentional way, and use it to create. Actually, the term I use is like creation versus sedation. And that might be like pretty intense terms for some people, but that's the way I see it. Like you're using cannabis to either like sedate in your life and escape, and it's become this habitual thing that you don't really think about, and it's just something you do. Or you're using it to create in your life, right? You're using it to create something, whether that's a strong relationship with yourself and with your body and with your health, or with your partner and your relationship with your wife and your kids, or something in business and like creativity and focus, or to help you exercise, or whatever it might be. Like you're using it to either create or using it to sedate. And that's kind of the stance that I take.
So I think
And
that I agree with that, but I would just, my only thought on it would be like, I don't see the negative in using it to sedate if that's with intention.
yeah,
So, for example, so that's like why I don't necessarily see it as like sedate as a negative and create as a positive, because I think that, sometimes like for me, my brain can just be going crazy
oh
with
yeah,
ideas and thoughts and da 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 da, da, and I need to shut it off so that I can like, and that's like
yeah,
intentional. So for me, it's about like conscious, intentional consumption, and it's crazy. I think about this, like, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but tell me if I'm right. When we first met, you weren't really using cannabis at all because your experience was that when you used cannabis, it just made you like not productive, not the person that you wanted to be at work. And I'd be like telling you how I was using, like, for example, 1906. I was like, yeah, so I'm having this as like my medicine when I wake up in the morning. And you're like, not like, not like judging me. I never felt like judging me, but you're like, wow, okay, like that's, I'm not using it that way, but that's cool, And I remember even the bud tenders at Ajoy, I was like, yeah, this is like these go beans are like my medicine. Like instead of having coffee, like I'll have this in the morning and like get through the day like with this. And people would be like, your medicine? It was weird. And now it's like becoming so much more. So I don't know. Talk to me. I guess the next question is like, what has changed the most about your own consumption? And so I'd love if you could address it before and that kind of now, because I think that's really where we were just going with the last conversation.
yeah, definitely. And I want to touch on one thing you said. You said you don't look at sedation as a negative thing, and I want to be clear. I don't necessarily either. Like sometimes it's positive. Like sometimes you need to sedate. I think the shift, though, for me was like in the intention, right? Like I'm intentionally doing this thing to unwind and create some peace of mind. And for me, like when I transition, let's say from work to home, and sometimes my mind's racing or things are coming up and I just can't get out of it. Like I don't have time to go and take a fucking 30-minute meditation and run around the block for, 2 miles and do whatever I do to like get the energy out and like get grounded again. I don't have time for that. And so in the past, I would just like, I just need to smoke weed and hit something, just hit it. And then I would just like, I'd feel better. But I'd almost like disassociate. And so there was a shift for me that happened where, when I would be in that mind state, and it happens all the time right now, when I'm like overwhelmed or I'm stressed or I'm thinking about whatever I'm thinking about, where when I go to use, it's in a very intentional way. Like I know exactly how long my hit's going to be. I'm very thoughtful about the strains that I'm using, and I'm very intentional about what I'm looking to create in that moment. And so for me, it might be, look, I'm looking to create a connection with my daughter and I need some peace of mind right now. So I'm going to use this product to create connection with my daughter while I'm giving her a bath and all of that, and just be with her in her space. And so it's just the shift in perspective for me, as opposed to just, I'm just going to smoke to just like, I need to just get rid of it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm on a mission to get people to take it up a level deeper and say, all right, yes, I need to unwind or I need to shut my head down, but what do I want to create in this moment? If just creating peace of mind is what it is, then great. If it's, I want to create connection with my husband and watch a movie right now, cool. Then let it be that. Just, it's like, because that's, getting down to like my own consumption and my evolution, like a lot of my use was very habitual, and a lot of it was to just escape the stress of life, and to help me manage things and deal with things. And I felt like when I would use, sometimes I get really spacey, or I would just kind of like lose my train of thought, and it was almost like I got too high, like it was just too much. But I couldn't stop. Like, not that I couldn't stop, but like it felt good. Like it relieved something in me that kept me doing it. But then there was all these negative side effects also that I didn't like. And so I battled with that for a really long time inside of this industry, up until maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago. And I would still use it, or I would stop using it for 30 days or some amount of time. But something after we met, and really in the last like year and a half or two, I was like, look, if I'm going to really continue growing inside this industry, like I don't want to sell sedation. I don't want to sell this experience that I'm having.
Right.
The experience that I'm having isn't super positive, and I don't want to sell that. So either I need to do something different, or I need to make this something great. And that was the pivotal moment for me, was that decision of like, all right, like if I'm going to use this product, then live it, Joey. Like, what do you got to do?
Like, you're living the brand. I mean, you created a brand, but you were not living it at all.
Exactly.
Because the truth is that if you use cannabis intentionally, you don't need to force yourself to take 30 days off. You don't need, like, if you want to have less, you start using less and taper off. If you want to have more, you get, as long as you're intentional. Like for me, certain weekend days, maybe I'm trying to be super creative. Like I've been working on my deck. Another thing I had to work on that I had to smoke a lot for to get through is anything math. So which is crazy, but like I will just let myself, because my brain will work fine to do Excel sheets and stuff like that. I'll have so much more patience for it if I use cannabis, and like kind of a lot. Like, like not a little amount, like not much, which is crazy. But I was sitting here thinking while you were talking that I wanted to hit my pen, which is funny because I keep it over here on my desk, which I'm not really big concentrates, or, well, I like my e-nail, but I'm not like a big vape pen person generally.
Yeah.
But I have this, it's Blue Dream. It's more of like a distillate. But I have it over here because, like, if, for example, you were talking and I was really trying to focus on everything that you were saying so that I could like build on it, right? Right. And so like my instinct and thought, and it works, is to be like, let me have a little hit of Blue Dream focus on what Joey is saying and then be able to get creative with that, what he just said, and bring it into what I'm saying. So, it's like, I think it's, I think a lot of people are using it that way to some extent, but then there is this overconsumption. And when it gets to overconsumption and that becomes so glorified, and that's what you're doing is just smoking weed all day, you kind of start to numb out.
Yeah.
And I think what you said about, intention of, I'm using this, could be the exact same product, but I'm using this to go engage with my daughter for an hour and only focus on her and nothing else and just forget about everything else. But my focus is my daughter, versus before you might have been like, I'm so tired, I can't do anything, I just want to shut my brain off.
Yeah.
You kind of go into this weird autopilot where you're like just trying to get through life instead of like digging deep into life. Does that resonate?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. That's absolutely how I felt about it. And it's changed the game for me. And it's changed my relationship to cannabis entirely. It's not this thing that I feel bad about using anymore. And you have to get to like I started smoking the first time when I was 12, I think. And, got in trouble for smoking and drinking when I was younger. Ended up dropping out of freshman year of high school. Ended up finishing it up in like a sober school, and then was sober from 15 to 20. And then, early 20s was back into like smoking and drinking and partying and drugs and all of that. So I had this like just a negative relationship with that stuff. Like you only use it to escape because that's what I used it for when I was a kid.
Party.
It was partying, and then also as a 12-year-old, you're not really smoking weed unless you're trying to like, what I know now, like feel better about something, and so that's how I always associated cannabis. And now today in my life, it's become something that is super intentional. And there's times when I'll use 0.5 milligrams. There's times when I'll use 10, and it depends on what I'm doing and who I'm with and what I'm trying to create in that moment. And I've never been like even someone who uses cannabis when I work. I've never been someone to smoke in the morning or use it in that way. But in the last 6 months, because I've switched my perspective around it, and it's so focused on, all right, what do I create in this moment? Whether that's, being creative or connecting to family or, going deeper in like self-reflection or whatever it might be. I've learned to be able to use it for certain working things. Like just the other day, I had to deal with some accounting stuff, and I was just like tired, and I was just like, I don't want to deal with this shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go smoke an Elevate strain. I got some lemon icing upstairs and from Artsy. And I went upstairs and took one small hit of this white water pipe from, what did you recommend to me again? That one?
Elevate Jane.
Yeah.
Elevate Jane Mimi.
Elevate Jane. So I took one hit from that and came down, and I was like, dude, like mind was blown. I just started thinking about stuff. I was whiteboarding behind me and just like getting it all out. Now, what I learned though is like I was really in the moment and I was focused, but sometimes I can go down a rabbit hole. And so
Totally.
you're here focused, and you're here, and then you're there, and then you're there, and then you're like, oh wait, I gotta get back to here.
Do you think, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD?
I definitely have ADHD.
I have never been diagnosed, but I definitely have it. And so I think that's it. And I do think that we have to be very mindful about managing it like anyone who would have ADHD would. And you have to be able to, like, it's the same thing with meditation, though. It's like you have to be able to come back to the breath, right? Yeah. When you realize that you're getting distracted. So it's all related.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. And so yeah, it's really cool for me to be able to do that and be able to, see where my consumption, how it's evolved. Or today, I went to the gym for the first time actually at a gym in a couple of years, or a year and a half, which is sad to say, but that's true, people. And I've smoked and I've gone on runs before, but I've never smoked and gone to the gym. And, I took, again, same thing, same strain, Elevate strain, going to the gym, and took one hit and went out and had a great workout. And I actually forgot that I used it until like 3 hours later.
Right. One of my biggest tips, I actually posted it in my Instagram today on my reels, is a 5 milligram edible in the morning. I'm telling you, especially as you know, I'm a big fan of Scott Jennings and the Pantry,
Yeah.
and I get my Good Day Bites from Chelsea at the Republic, and they like it's a 5 milligram. It also has ashwagandha and lion's mane and turmeric, and it's five, which is like perfect. And again, you just forget you had it, but I don't drink coffee anymore or like anything like that. So I'm just kind of like, oh, I just feel like good and there's no crash.
Yeah. And it's interesting because people might think like you shouldn't need to use drugs and use cannabis or use marijuana for like in like your days and whatnot. But it's I was listening to someone talk on a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how actually when you use those substances, what if like you're more in touch with reality? And I was like, you know what? Like it made complete sense to me. When I'm sober, I'm so caught up sometimes in like conditioning and programming in life and the stuff around me and the stories I tell myself and this and that. And when I use, I'm so much more connected. Now it can be used to like disconnect. Don't get me wrong, it can. But like I said, if you're using it intentionally, to me, it doesn't really matter necessarily how much you use or how often you use or any of that. If it's used thoughtful and intentional and you're focused on something, because like you said before, if that's how you're using it, if you feel like you need to take a little break, you'll take a little break.
Right. Like
Right?
so last weekend I was really sick. I got like this like crazy stomach virus. And it was horrible. But the worst part of it was not that I was sick. It was my anxiety, about being sick because I felt horrible and I was scared that I was going to die. And I was like, it even sounds ridiculous saying it now, but in that moment, I was so sure,
Yeah.
So, and like that is, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I do use Lexapro every day. And so I guess would those same people say, oh, you shouldn't use,
Yeah.
a mental health drug well, I tried to go off Lexapro when I started using cannabis thinking, oh, I can handle this on my own. Now it's plant medicine all the way. No, it wasn't good. It was like, it wasn't, cannabis isn't reliable enough to, keep, doing your dose the same all the time. It's just not possible. So, yeah, but the reason why I'm bringing up feeling sick was that what ended up making me feel the best, which I didn't smoke that day, but I smoked like the next day and I felt amazing. But the thing that I needed was a Xanax because I was making myself crazy, with the stories I was telling myself and, feeling disconnected from my body and all these things. And I just needed to be like, sometimes we need something, and so I guess it's just like, I think the people who use cannabis know themselves and know their bodies and are supplementing themselves along the course of their day so that they live their best lives.
I think there are people that do that, but I also, like me, like that wasn't me, and I used cannabis for a long time.
Right.
So I think I'm definitely like I want people to do that, right? Like I want us to use it in a way that helps us get in touch with ourselves and become our best selves, and that's really what I'm about. Like that's really, we're not a cannabis business, we're a people business.
Yeah. So what is the next step? I mean, you guys got stuff up your sleeve, I guess, but I want to see this message. Like, it's so important. And are you willing to take that next step to become a thought leader and like, I don't know, write a book and stuff?
Yeah, no, it's definitely in my future. It's
Good.
definitely in my future. It's what
Because
I'm
you have a great
passionate
story to tell now. Like, before you were kind of like, Joey, the dispensary owner. Now you're Joey, the cannabis, like, cannabis changed everything for you in so many different ways. You have such good stories to tell. And like, you should be up there at all the conferences talking because, this is a platform. There's not many guys like you that are willing to really share their experiences with the plant and around the wellness place. There's a lot of women talking about it, but there's not a lot of men talking about it. And I also just think the Ajoya brand itself, like, I don't know, like a magazine, a catalog, something national that people can start to understand, I don't know, turning yourselves into like a little media empire. I mean, like, Cookies has more followers than, any cannabis media platform,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
So,
It's true. I mean, that's definitely in the future, or like now in the future. Like I want to see us do some things this year and next year and start to be a thought leader inside of this space, and
yeah,
I talk to people all the time in my neighborhood, friends, parents, and people that don't currently use cannabis for one reason or another, and there's still so much stereotype and stigma around it, and so much like it's just not for me, or so and so gave me this and I tried and I didn't like it, or I had this bad experience, like all the stories that we all know of, and it is difficult to like break that barrier, and get people interested and curious. But I'm successful always, like one-on-one. Oftentimes, like people become really interested when they talk to me about, oh, like really, like I don't have to get super stoned, and maybe you can help me with my meditations or my working out or my
right.
exercising or going
I
on
always,
a date or
I always like take the step back and say, do you know that we have an endocannabinoid system?
yeah, and that's
And
like
usually people are like, I've no what?
yeah,
Yeah, well, it's a system within the body that was only discovered in the 90s and is barely taught in any medical schools right now. And they're like, already their eyes are like, okay. And you're like, okay, so now we've got this system in the body that is imbalanced in some way, and we've got to figure out how to get it in balance. And if we can get it in balance, you don't even have to feel high. You don't have to, we just are wanting to make you feel better, like a little better. And
yeah.
then they're like, oh yeah, I want to feel better. Like,
Well, that's it. Like it's spot on. Like we all walk around with so much stress and so much pain and so much things that we're dealing with. All of us do.
yep.
And life can be hard. It's a struggle, and it's always gonna be till the day you die. It's just a matter of
And
like
you
how
can
you
either
do.
get caught up in it, or you can like decide that you're going to like detach is a bad word, but I mean that you're going to unplug from it, you know what I mean, and not allow it to affect you so that you can do your thing. Because otherwise it could be just debilitating, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah,
So,
it really can. And cannabis, and not just cannabis. Like we're talking about
yeah,
cannabis,
we're talking about wellness.
but wellness. I said just a few minutes ago, like a Joy I see as a people brand. It's not a cannabis brand. We happen to sell cannabis right now, but like I guarantee we're going to sell other products. We're going to get into different spaces where a people brand focused on bringing wellness to people and helping them um, discover how to become the best version of themselves. And
Exactly.
it's not about us telling them what to do. It's about them becoming their own gurus in their own life and trusting themselves, which is something for me. The reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I struggle so much with that. I didn't grow up with high self-esteem and believing in myself. I was constantly getting value, and still to this day, value from other people and praise and, wanting to be the guy on top and this and that. It's like my desire to grow for so long was just to like be looked up to, not because I'm passionate about something, and that's shifting now, and there's so many people that are like me, so I'm passionate about it. I don't need to cater to everyone, but the ones that struggle in the way that I have and that want to become the best version of themselves and learn to trust themselves and potentially use cannabis to support them in that.
Right.
I'm all about that.
Totally. Yeah, and like having cannabis as a tool in their tool belt is really what it comes down to. It's like whenever you may need it, whether that be that you're going to use it a lot, or you're just going to be like, oh, when I feel like this, I use this,
Yeah,
which is like a really nice thing for people to have in their medicine cabinet,
yeah.
when they're not sleeping well or they're going through something, that they have that there. And
I
the
think,
only reason the other day that I could take a Xanax is because last one time I was prescribed it a really long time ago, and I keep it because for times like that where sometimes you just really need something that is more than you can give yourself.
yeah,
You know?
I completely agree.
Yeah. All right. So what is like, okay, there is a lot. The industry is really hard, really. Like,
I know I've been
you
in it for
know,
so long, I forget that what it's like on the outside.
yeah, me too. I mean, I think that lately in the past couple of years. I don't even talk to any of those people who don't know anything about cannabis. Like I live my life now in like a world mostly of like people who are like-minded in that way, like between the app and like, kind of all of our followers and then, whoever else is always just like kind of in this mindset. And like the only places I go like now outside my house are dispensaries. So because I don't have to go to the grocery store, like I don't have a lot of interaction.
I
And I
know.
have like a couple of friends, like I have a couple of non-weed friends, but like meaning that they aren't in the weed industry, but they still use cannabis in their own ways. They're like more fitness people and they use edibles and stuff. But they use edibles every day, like every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, but it's just it's so hard. Like I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't think it was going to be this hard. Everything from getting people's attention to getting people's money, to whether that be as a customer or raising capital or a brand's money. So what is your best advice to people who are coming in the industry, for like somebody who has been in the industry a really long time and is by all intents and purposes successful in this industry? So what is your best advice for people to get in and stay in?
It's a good question. My mind first goes to thinking about people that are seeking to like create something in this space versus people that want to just get a job. So, I'm going to speak to the people that want to create something in this space, my advice would be to really connect to what you're most passionate and what drives you inside of this space. A lot of people look at cannabis in this industry as the green rush and a chance to make a lot of money, and they want to get in on it quickly because they think it's just like it's of our time, right? Like they think that this is it in their lifetime, is something to like get into and make a lot of money and set themselves up. And I think if that's the mindset that you have, you're not going to win. Like you're just not going to win in this space. And I know that firsthand from my own experience where that was my mindset. But I think if you really want to love your life and create something impactful in this space, you really got to do some soul searching and dig deep within yourself to figure out, what is it that I'm most passionate about? What do I want to solve for people inside the cannabis industry? Like what am I solving for? And what am I willing to put my life on the line for to make happen? And there's a very small percentage that are willing to do that. And so, but I think if you want to do it, you got to connect to that. And then I guess
what are you willing to risk everything for?
Something you're willing to risk everything for. Yeah, absolutely. Like, what are you willing to put everything on the line for, and then go after it?
Yeah, I mean, I would put everything except for my family would be on the line because of the passion and has been. And I used to listen to, I still listen to How I Built This with Guy Raz, it's an NPR podcast. And one of the reasons why I've been able to stay being an entrepreneur for 3 years is that, like, I heard all these people who had their roller coaster and the deepest, darkest, where they were second mortgaging their houses and all this stuff. And so I'm like, all right, well, at least I'm not as bad as the Stonyfield guy or the Peloton guy or this guy, but it's like this feeling of wanting to wake up every day and do it. And it feels like, I mean, it is your job. You want to make money with it, but it still doesn't feel like you want to do it. Otherwise, you're going to run into a brick wall and burn out in cannabis because you're not going to make money for a really long time.
Yeah, well, and look at it like the profit that you make is a reflection of the value that you're adding, right? And I know you see it like that as well. It's like that's the reality. Like the more value I'm adding to people's lives, the more money I'll make, and it's just a measurement of the value you're adding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's something that I'm still, that's what this journey's been. I just told you like the last 18 months, that's what my journey's been, is connecting to what I'm passionate about, what drives me, what do I care about. And then now that I'm connecting to it, it's all right, how do I bring that to the marketplace?
It's just so interesting to see you, and I'm sure I'm very different to you than when we first met, but you're very different to me than when we first met. You're just so much chiller now, and like you are like, it seems like you're so much more present. Like I used to experience you as somebody who was like measuring every word that you said and like nervous about, like anxious.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, whatever, say whatever, do whatever, fuck it. Like, and I love, this is like this evolution. It shows this like growth, this growing up. And I think I've evolved to that too over the course of, the past couple of years. It's just like between the plant and just having to realize that like you're going to go through so much bullshit, like you may as well just be real.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been one of my biggest struggles. It's like one of my core stories, I think, is that like I'm broken and something's wrong with me. That's like a core story that I live with. And so being able to say, look, like these parts of me that I don't like they are a part of me. Stop denying that. Like, yeah, like that's a part of you and that's okay. Like that's so be with it. It was important to me to show up on this call with you and be with you and just be all of me and present.
And I appreciate it so much. I love it. I love this like version of you. Like I want to hang out with this version of you and like be friends with you. Before I wanted you to be my client, but now I just want to hang out with you and Brittany and,
hang out, smoke a little.
hang out, smoke, hang out, watch your kids run around and shit.
Yeah. They're super adorable.
I know.
Super cute.
I know. All right. So my last, and like, so you would never say to your wife who has had, I know a lot of medical issues over the course of the past couple of years, you would never be like, well, you're broken because you're broken. Like, right?
Yeah.
And that's like her physical body actually has like been broken and now is being put back together. Think about yourself in the same way as like sure, maybe you are broken, but every day you're putting yourself back together, just like she is at her spine clinic and all that stuff. But you're just doing it with your brain.
I kind of look at it, I agree with you. That's spot on. And I kind of look at it now that I'm just like chipping all the bullshit away. Like the version of me that I see in the future is already inside of me, and I'm just chipping it away.
Yeah, and that version of you is like, come on, it's so much better here. We're so free,
Yeah.
And isn't that what we want, is to like be free and not worry that like people are going to be mad at us or that we're not doing a good enough job or all these things that we're not enough.
Yeah.
And you could never be enough. So you may as well just be like, whatever, I'm too much already. So I'm just going to.
Exactly. That's absolutely it. Whatever. This is what you get.
This is it. We're doing the best we can every day.
And it's been a lot of fun to watch you too, Lauren. See, you're just doing you and building your brand, and you keep going at it, like no matter what.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
No matter what obstacle, no matter how like scared you might get, or just all that I sit here sometimes and I'm like, oh man, like I can just imagine, even though we don't talk all the time, I'm just imagining what you're going through when I watch your posts and see what you put out there, and you keep showing up. So I just acknowledge you for that. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do something pretty aggressive. I mean, I realize that. I'm trying, instead of trying to focus on something little, I'm trying to build something big, which is like exciting, but also kind of like people are like, are you going to be able to do that? Is that possible? Can you build a platform in cannabis? So we've spent the past year, especially past 6 months, like really focusing in on the two things that we do. One is helping brands make better content using our hero content model. So, go live for an hour with your podcast, which I'd love to see you do for your executive visibility and like really around this conversation, like find something in this conversation that like you want to talk about and then have guests on. And then we'll make you back like content, that you can then use on Ajoya social media to like show what you're like what you're bringing to the table, and then you can use that on your personal social too. But but yeah, so the other side is High Curious Premium, which is where what I really am like lit up about. Like that's the part that like is that like I get to help cannabis entrepreneurs get their business off the ground, and they can come to High Curious, they can start a subscription business tomorrow, today, by like, and they can start charging for their content, which really they should be getting paid for. Like there's all these people who are teaching about cannabis. They're educating for you on social media. You know what I mean? And they also have followers who would be thrilled to pay them for more in-depth content. So that to me, it's like when those people, like I have the Ken Abbas mug that's like future cannabis billionaire. And I'm like, it's because when I'm a billionaire, everyone else will be a millionaire. And that will be the best feeling. So like, that's where my passion is. It's like, it's definitely, of course it's around wellness, and the platform will always have a backbone of wellness. But, it's about really helping other people like do this hard shit,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So my last question, I have one day, I think I'm going to make a playlist of all my people's hype songs and send them out.
Yeah.
So, okay. So tell me, we were talking about it right before we went live. Like, what is your hype song? Or if you're not using a hype song right now, how do you hype?
I'm not using a hype song right now. I listen to a ton of like audiobooks, and it's usually like, business books or personal development shit or relationship shit or whatever it is. But today I went to the gym, and what I listened to was David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. And so that was my like, what's that?
I don't know about that book.
Oh, got it. So David Goggins is, you should look him up. But I mean, I'm just, to sum it up, I mean, he's a guy that had an extremely rough upbringing, where all odds were stacked against him, experienced tons of traumatic stuff as a child that he gets into in detail in the book. And just really turned his life around. I can't speak to all the details of all the awards he's gotten and the different things that he's overcome and done, but it's like his life
inspiring.
Story. Yeah, it's an inspiring life story, and I put it on at the gym because it was just, it's one of those moments like, if he can overcome these things and become who he is, then it's like it motivates me in the gym to just like focus and do what I got to do and keep going. And I can learn a little bit along the way.
I love that. Well, I have a book. You're on Audible?
Yeah.
Have you read this book yet?
I have not, but I've been thinking about getting it.
Okay, well, it's on Audible. And it's 4 hours and 20 minutes.
All right, that's not bad.
Which I couldn't believe it when it came out to that. That was not intentional. Freaking great.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. That's funny.
And I mean, the other thing is and then this is not like, I know you don't do stuff at the store level, but I am going to start doing book signings at dispensaries in the local area just to like, just get my, just meet people and stuff like that. Cause I don't really know anybody here. Yes! He's buying it with one credit, people.
I did.
All right. This has been so great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good to catch up, good to talk business, and to just, I don't know, see your face for like an hour.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure, and
happy to do it again. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, well, I'd love to. If you want to do the podcast idea, let's talk about it. And otherwise, I'm going to hit you up to sponsor my upcoming 420 event. And but that's it. We were like this. You're like, I know, and it's crazy. Like between the two Ajoya and 1906, my two first experiences in cannabis. So basically, the pinnacle at that time of like any place, like it's like the best product in like the most like advanced messaging and also style dispensary you could go to. And then I'm like, oh, the cannabis industry is totally ready for me.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were getting yourself into.
No, I definitely should have waited another year. But whatever. I wouldn't be where I am today.
We've got our new Lakewood store opening in 3 weeks.
That's amazing. I got to
Yeah,
come visit.
yeah, it should be April 1st, the grand opening. So we'll keep everyone posted. It's coming
Okay.
down to the wire, but we think we can pull it off. But yeah, it's a beautiful store. You're gonna love it.
I'm so excited. What's different about it than Louisville in your mind? Like, what's new about it?
Um, we just took what we learned from building out Louisville and how things flowed, and just took the lessons from there and applied them. And we have a pickup drive-through that we created, so people will be able to just. We can't put like a menu outside that's not compliant, but you
Right.
can call in, order online, place an order, come to the drive-through and pick it up.
That's going to be
Uh,
a game
It's going to
changer.
be a game changer. We've got a walk-up window. I mean, a lot of what we did was how do we make the shopping experience easy for the consumer? How do we just lessen the restrictions and still create an environment where you can have conversations if you want to shop at the bar, but also have these other multiple ways where you can order products and pick it up.
Especially for your repeat users, because I think that the dispensary experience can take a really long time for people
Yeah,
who know what they want.
yeah,
The whole thing is just like there's just wait between the stickering and
yeah.
it's like, come on, let's go,
Well, what's frustrating too is like this, you can't pay for it online right now in
Right,
Colorado
right.
unless, no, I don't even think you can. You could during the COVID, like initially they allowed you, but then they changed it back.
So basically it's like you come through, you order, you come through, you swipe your card. They swipe your
Yeah,
card. Is it all pre-stickered before or no?
yeah, yeah.
It
It'll
is.
be pre-stickered.
That's good. That's good.
And
Okay.
even now, if you shop at Ajoya, if you place the order online, it's going to be pre-stickered and ready for you. You just have to come in and pick it up.
I mean, I like to shop because I like to see, what's out and new
Yeah,
stuff and whatever. So when I go, I always like, unless I'm going to my places that I like get the same stuff. Like, I
yeah,
have my place where I get $100 ounce, and that's like where that's my place for that. And then, do you guys carry dialed in yet?
yeah, yeah. We
You
did a
do?
collaboration with them actually.
You did?
So yeah, they used some of our strains in some products.
Okay, I've got to come over. Because I never can find them in stock anywhere. So I got
Got
to
it.
come over and check those out. There was something else I was going to ask you about. It slipped my mind, but this has been amazing. I appreciate your time so much. And please say hi to your fam for me. And we'll talk about 420, but I also just like want to hang. Let's hang before, like in the summer. Let's plan. We're going to do something in the summer. Let's just be real.
Let's do it.
Let's do
Louisville,
it.
meet
All
in
right.
the middle.
Fine. Cool.
A
Sounds
little
good.
sweet cow and pizza with the kids,
I love it. Perfect.
or not. That's what I do right now. I hang out with my family. So I'm like, come hang out with me and my family.
That's fine. We're fine. As long as we don't have to take care of anyone's kids, we love hanging out with them.
Yes,
Otherwise,
you're done with that. That makes sense.
right now, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not interested in that right now because it's lovely not.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, as much as I love it right now, I can't wait for that day too.
Yeah, it's like we're both in the stage where we like see other people's kids and we're like, that's so nice for you.
Yeah. I mean, I have kids and I'm the same way now. I see other people's kids and I'm like, keep them over there.
I was always like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are like that. We like our own kids. We don't really like all the boogery other kids.
Yeah, we didn't become teachers for a reason.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, have an amazing rest of your day. And
Thank
I
you.
will see you soon.
All right. Take care, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.